Hello friends, my name is Harshit Dwivedi and I again welcome you all to my audio tutorials. In the previous audio tutorial, I will told you about the Simla Conference 1945. In this audio tutorial, I will tell you about the 1946 Cabinet Mission to India. Now, this 1946 Cabinet Mission to India was next in line to Simla Conference 1945, an effort by the British government to arrange for a proper political leadership in India. This cabinet mission was comprised of three cabinet ministers of England. They were the Secretary of State for India. It was Sir Patrick Lawrence, the President of the Board of Trade, Sir Stafford Cripps, and the First Lord of Admiralty, V. Alexander. One important point to note here was that in the cabinet mission of 1946, Lord Wavell, who was then the Viceroy of India, did not participate. So, if we talk in layman language and I tell to you about what were the most important objectives and aims of this mission, then the first very important aim of this mission was to devise a machinery which would be entrusted with the task of formation of the Constitution of Independent India. Second was to make arrangements for the interim government, that is, the government that would be in power and would make laws before the Constitution of India is formed. So, we can say that this mission, that is the cabinet mission, was an informal declaration on part of British government of the freedom or independence of India. Now, point wise, I will tell you about the various important features of the Cabinet Mission Plan 1946. Almost all of these features of Cabinet Mission Plan 1946 are very important. The very first proposal that was put forward by the Cabinet Mission Plan of 1946 was that India shall be a Union of India, which would have exclusive powers to deal with the foreign affairs, communication and defense of the country. This was the very first important feature of the Cabinet Mission Plan of 1946. The second most important feature of this 1946 Cabinet Mission Plan was that it recommended an undivided India. That is, it was against the idea of dividing India into two separate parts, and it turned down the Muslim League's demand of a separate Pakistan. Also, the cabinet mission restricted the communal representation, but somehow, in an indirect way, it tried to satisfy the needs of the Muslim League. Now, the way in which this cabinet mission plan did this was that the provincial legislatures were broken up into three sections. These sections were named as Section A, Section B and Section C. In the Section A, the areas of Madras, United Province, Central Province, Bombay, Bihar and Orissa were covered. In the Section B, the areas of Punjab, Sindh, NWFP, Northwestern Frontier Province and Balochistan were covered. In Section C, Assam and Bengal were covered. Now, the point here is that the areas of Sindh, Punjab and Northwestern Frontier Province, that is the Section B. Now this section, these areas were Muslim majority provinces. That indirectly speaking, the British government divided India into certain provinces, and in those provinces communalism was already existent. That is, some provinces were majority were of Hindu majority and some provinces were of Muslim majority. So by doing this, the 1946 cabinet mission tried to balance and tried to maintain an equality or parity in the central administration. That is, by grouping the areas and giving autonomy to these provincial units, they were given equality in the affairs of their administration. This plan of this main feature of 1946 cabinet mission that was put forward on May 16 envisaged a united India in line with the Congress and Muslim League aspirations. That is, by doing this, this was a plan that was midway between the Muslim League and Congress aspirations. But the problem arose where the consensus between the two parties, that is the Indian National Congress and the Muslim League, ended because Congress disliked the idea of having groupings of Muslim majority provinces and that of Hindu majority provinces with the intention of balancing each other at the central legislature. So the point is that the 1946 cabinet mission tried to maintain a parity or balance at the central legislature or at the central council of both the Hindu majority provinces and the Muslim majority provinces. This balance, this equality was wanted by the Muslim League, and the Congress wanted the central administration system to be more centralized. So the Muslim League could not accept any changes to this 1946 cabinet mission plan, especially to the second characteristics, since the balance, parity and equality that was mentioned in the second feature, the Congress was totally against the same balance or parity that formed the basis of the Muslim demands of political safeguards built into the post-British Indian laws so as to prevent the absolute rule of Hindus over Muslims. In short, I would like to say that this feeling of equality, parity and balancing at the central legislature was the base of the demand of the Muslims, and the Indian National Congress was against it. So the Muslims were afraid that if this thing will not be made after the independence, there will be an absolute rule of Hindus over the Muslims, which the Muslim League disliked. So the Muslim League was very much favoring this second characteristic and second feature of this 1946 cabinet mission plan, but Congress was totally against it because Congress wanted a very much centralized center. That is, there must be a strong center who would have control over all the spheres. And if such an arrangement is to be made, then almost equal representation would be given to the Hindu and Muslim majority areas, and the centralizing tendency of the central council will not be that effective. So this was the second most important plan or feature of this cabinet mission plan. The third most important feature of this 1946 cabinet mission plan was that the Indians were given the right to cede from the Commonwealth. That is, it said that Indians at any point in the future, if they want to secede or be separated from the Commonwealth, they could do that. The fourth most important point was that the legislature, that is the power to make decisions on all subjects except the union subjects and the residuary subjects, were vested in the provinces. That is, the provinces were free to make decisions on all the subjects that were not mentioned in the union list and the residuary list. And actually there was no such thing as residuary list. There were union list and there were state list. And all those subjects who do not come under union list and state list, they are automatically termed as the residuary subjects or residuary list. So this state list, on all the subjects of the state list, on all the rules and law and departments that were mentioned in the state list or the provincial list, on those lists only the provinces or the provincial council will have the authority to legislate. The fifth most important point of the 1946 cabinet mission plan was that an interim cabinet would be formed, and all the members of the interim cabinet would be Indians, and minimum possible interference will be there from the viceroy in the decision making power of the interim cabinet. That is, almost all the powers will be vested in the hands of the Indians. The sixth most important point was that a constituent assembly will be formed which will be comprised of the representatives of the princely states and the provincial assemblies. And the principle of democratic principle of population was to be followed. That is, that each province will be allotted a total number of seats in proportion to its respective population. So, following this rule, the Constituent Assembly was to be comprised of 93 members, which would be represented by the princely states, and other 293 members which will be represented by the British provinces. So, in short, these are the most important points of the 1946 Cabinet Mission of India. And one thing very interesting was there, that 1946 Cabinet Mission of India did not give power totally to the Muslim League. That is, they rejected the idea of the partition, but by their cunningness and you can say by their innovativeness or by their good management skills, they gave appropriate representation to the Muslim League. That is, they formed a group, the group of the Sindh and the NWFP and Balochistan and Punjab, and that group was to be ruled by the Muslim League only. A certain set of subjects was there, and on those subjects only Muslim League can legislate. This was the rule made at that time. But the point was that by doing this, a certain amount of balance, a certain amount of equality was being made at the central level. That is, that obviously the members that were given the membership in the Constituent Assembly of India, they had the power to vote on any bill, they had the power to veto any bill. So, if such a power would have been given to the Muslim majorities areas, then the centralizing tendency of the central government would have gone. And you can say that a loose confederation of states would have been formed. So that is why this plan was not acceptable to the Indian National Congress. Indian National Congress from the starting wanted a centralized tendency at the central level. That is, they wanted a strong center. And this thing was not present in the 1946 Cabinet Mission Plan. So, this was the reason that Congress was not totally in favor of this Cabinet Mission Plan. All the proposals that were made by this 1946 Cabinet Mission Plan, the proposal that was related to the Constituent Assembly, the formation of the Constituent Assembly, was accepted by the Congress. But the Congress had a feeling that the Muslim League has been given disproportionate representation at the center. That is, that their representation was more in proportion to their population in the country. Their population in the country was 25% at that time, and they got more representation than that 25%. Also, as I already told you, that Congress was not in favor of a weak center, and it was also not in favor of dividing India into small states. So that is why Congress wanted to have a strong center, and this particular arrangement, that is the arrangement of the 1946 Cabinet Mission Plan, was favoring decentralization. So that is why Congress was not in favor of that. The Muslim League initially was happy with the plan, but after that they thought that still Congress had majority at the central level, and through that majority and through its voting, maybe in the future they could change the scheme that was being proposed by the Cabinet Mission Plan. So the Muslim League was also not in favor of the 1946 Cabinet Mission Plan, and the Muslim League rejected this Cabinet Mission Plan of 1946. Now, some very important things happened on the part of Muslim League after that. On July 27th, 1946, the Muslim League Council met at Bombay, where Muhammad Ali Jinnah more strengthened the demand of Pakistan and said that the formation of Pakistan and partitioning of India into two different states, India and Pakistan, was the only option left open to the Muslim League. And in pursuance of this plan, on July 29th, 1946, formally this 1946 cabinet mission plan was rejected by the Muslim League, and the Muslim League appealed to the Muslims of India to resort to direct action in order to achieve their dream of getting their own land, that is Pakistan. And August 16, 1946 was fixed as the direct action day. We have very frequently read about direct action day in newspaper, in magazines. Now, direct action day was a very terrific day in the history of India. It was a day of a big violence, and you can say also the start of the mayhem, of the communal mayhem that percolated and devastated whole of the Indian landmass and the populations. So I will tell you in detail about the direct action day in my next audio tutorial. So in this audio tutorial, I have already told you about the 1946 cabinet mission to India. I hope you liked it, and I will meet you in my next audio tutorial. Till then, have a good day.